Welcome back. Now, Africa must industrialize and internally trade its way out of poverty. That's the word from African finance ministers at United Nations Economic Commission for Africa underway in Addis Ababa in Ethiopia. eNCA business editor Devan Murugan has more.
Africa accounts for 54% of the world's poorest people. It's overtaken Asia in recent years. This week, African ministers are again here in Addis Ababa to tackle not only economic integration, but intra-African trade to combat that poverty. This week, African countries told the United Nations gathering how poor infrastructure networks, unaffordable financing, and increasing violence are huge stumbling blocks. But there's overwhelming potential in Africa's resources. The DRC, for instance, has 70% of the world's cobalt reserves. That's a key component in battery production. Acting Executive Secretary at the Economic Commission for Africa, Antonio Pedro, explains how this could help the entire continent.
Centered, of course, in DRC, with its endowments in cobalt, lithium, and other battery minerals, but it's a project for the entire continent. Zambia is already lined up. South Africa, with all of its potential in the automotive sector, is interested, as well as many other countries on the continent. This particular value chain, if we succeed to develop it in its entirety, could enable us to tap into a market that is going to be about $7.7 trillion by 2025 or $46 trillion by 2050. This is huge, and we are at the center of that.
But intensifying intra-African trade is crucial. A market of 1.4 billion people is waiting if policy and infrastructure barriers are dropped. Some say the more industrialized African countries, such as South Africa, need to shift their search for goods closer to home.
If you ask me, the biggest challenge I have, for example, is if I look at South Africa, our biggest economy in this sub-region, it imports huge amounts of soya beans and soya cakes and soya everything else from Brazil. And yet, the Southern African region is a very agricultural, and they can actually produce. So is it a question of quantity? Is it a question of quality? Or is it because South Africa is also within the BRICS countries, and maybe they have preferential treatment there, and maybe it's cheaper? I mean, for me, what I would be happy about is to see a reversal of that kind of trend.
Deputy Finance Minister David Masondo will attend the conference on Monday. Devan Murugan, Addis Ababa.